Hey Aries, come sit with me for a minute because I just pulled cards for you and honestly what came through is something I need to share with you right away. I have been doing readings all week. But when your energy showed up in these cards, I actually had to pause and really take in what the universe is trying to tell you about this specific situation. So the topic that kept coming up for you is about people crying and suddenly realizing something major about you. Like these are folks who maybe did not see your value before, or they underestimated what you bring to the table and now something has shifted dramatically in their perception. The cards are showing me this whole journey of recognition, and I am genuinely excited to walk through this with you because the energy here is powerful. Let me just dive right in because the first card I pulled for you is the Three of Pentacles and okay. When I saw this card come up in this position I literally got chills. The Three of Pentacles is all about mastery and collaboration and recognition for your skills. What the cards are showing me here is that you have been working on something, building something, maybe it is a project or a skill, or even just your entire life foundation, and for the longest time people were not giving you the credit you deserved. They were watching you work, and maybe they thought you were just average or they did not understand the level of expertise you were bringing to whatever you were doing. But here is what is wild about this card showing up right now. The Three of Pentacles does not just represent you doing good work, it represents other people finally acknowledging that work. So what I am seeing is that there has been this massive shift where people who previously overlooked you or dismissed your contributions are now standing back and going, wait a second, I completely missed how talented this person actually is. And this is not just one person, Aries. The energy feels collective, like multiple people in your life or in your field or in your social circle are having this realization at the same time. The reason this matters so much is because the Three of Pentacles often shows up when your reputation is being built or rebuilt. People are talking about you behind your back, but in a good way now. They are realizing they messed up by not recognizing your value earlier, and some of them are genuinely emotional about it because they are understanding what they lost or what they failed to see. There is this energy of regret mixed with admiration, and it is creating this really intense emotional response in the people around you. What I find fascinating about this particular card in your reading is the timing. The Three of Pentacles suggests that you have been consistently showing up and doing excellent work for a while now. This is not an overnight success situation. This is you being dedicated and committed and excellent even when nobody was watching or caring. And now, the universe is basically putting a spotlight on all of that effort and making sure people cannot ignore it anymore. Some of these people are crying because they feel guilty. Some are crying because they are moved by what you have accomplished. And some are crying because they realize they let something special slip away. The second card that came through for you is the Two of Wands, and oh my goodness, Aries, this card is giving me such strong confirmation energy. The Two of Wands is about having the world in your hands, about standing at a crossroads with power and options and the ability to choose your own direction. When I see this card following the Three of Pentacles, it tells me that not only are people recognizing you now, but they are also starting to realize the potential you have and where you are headed. So let me paint this picture for you. The Two of Wands shows a figure literally holding a globe, looking out at vast possibilities. This is you right now. You have worked hard, you have built your skills, and now you are at this point where you can basically choose whatever path you want because you have proven yourself capable. But here is what is making people emotional about this. They are realizing they had a chance to be part of your journey and they either rejected that opportunity or they did not value it. And now they are watching you stand there with all these options, and they are not one of them anymore. The Two of Wands energy is really interesting because it is not about you being stuck or uncertain, it is about you having so many good options that you are taking your time to decide which one serves you best. And people who underestimated you are seeing this and they are having this moment of absolute clarity where they understand they are no longer in the running. They are no longer someone you need or even someone you are considering. You have leveled up past them and they can feel it, and that realization is hitting them hard. What gets me about this card is the sovereignty it represents. You are not asking for permission anymore. You are not seeking validation from people who did not give it to you before. You are literally standing in your power, making decisions based on your vision and your goals, and people are crying because they realize they lost their chance to be chosen by you. The power dynamic has completely flipped, and they are feeling the weight of that shift. Now the third card is Strength and Aries. When this card showed up, I actually said out loud, this is too perfect. Strength is one of my favorite cards in the entire deck because it represents this quiet, confident power that cannot be shaken. It is not loud or aggressive. It is this inner fortitude that allows you to face challenges with grace and courage. And in the context of your reading about people crying and realizing things about you, this card is showing me that what they are truly recognizing is your strength. Here is what I mean by that. Strength shows a person calmly working with a lion, not through force but through patience and inner power. This represents you and how you have handled difficult situations, difficult people, difficult circumstances. While others might have given up or become bitter or lashed out, you kept your composure. You stayed true to yourself. You did not let the lack of recognition break you. And people are now seeing that, and they are emotional because they understand the level of character that requires. The Strength card is telling me that some of these people crying about you are specifically crying because they threw challenges at you expecting you to fail or crumble, and instead you thrived. They tested you whether intentionally or unintentionally, and you passed every single test not by fighting back aggressively but by staying grounded in your power. That is what is breaking their hearts right now because they see that you did not need their approval or their support to succeed. You had everything you needed inside yourself all along. There is also this element with the Strength card about taming your own inner struggles. What people might not have seen is that you were dealing with your own doubts and fears and challenges internally while still showing up powerfully in the world. And now that they are getting glimpses of your full story, they are realizing how much you overcame while making it look effortless. That contrast between what you were dealing with privately and how you showed up publicly is making people deeply emotional because they understand the gap between those two realities required immense strength. The fourth card is the King of Swords and OK Aries. This is where the reading gets really interesting because we are shifting into a different kind of energy. The King of Swords represents clarity, truth, intellectual power, and the ability to cut through nonsense with precision. This card is showing me that part of what people are crying about is the fact that you have developed this incredible ability to see through situations and speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. What I am picking up here is that you might have recently called something out or set a boundary or simply stated a truth that other people were avoiding. The King of Swords does not sugarcoat things. This energy is about being direct and honest and fair, but also completely unwilling to participate in delusion or manipulation. And when this king speaks, people listen because there is authority and wisdom behind the words. So, in terms of people crying and realizing something about you, the King of Swords is showing me that some folks are having emotional reactions because you have basically held up a mirror to their behavior or their choices, and they cannot deny what they are seeing anymore. You did not do this to be cruel, you did it because the King of Swords values truth above all else. But that truth is hitting people hard and causing them to really examine themselves and their actions and how they treated you. There is also an element here about respect. The King of Swords commands respect not through force but through competence and integrity and mental clarity. People are realizing they should have respected you more, they should have listened to you more, they should have valued your perspective more. And now that they are seeing the consequences of not doing that, they are getting emotional because they cannot undo those choices. The King of Swords does not go backwards, this energy only moves forward with purpose and strategy. What I really want you to understand about this card in your reading is that it represents you stepping fully into your intellectual and communicative power. You are no longer softening your truth or dumbing yourself down or trying to make other people comfortable with realities they need to face. And that is what is making people cry, because they preferred the version of you that was easier to dismiss or ignore, and now you are undeniable. The fifth card I pulled is the Four of Pentacles, and this one surprised me a little bit because it adds a layer to this reading that I was not expecting. The Four of Pentacles traditionally represents holding on to resources, being protective of what you have, sometimes being a bit guarded or closed off. But in the context of your reading about people having emotional realizations about you, this card is showing me something specific. What the Four of Pentacles is revealing is that you have become very selective about who you share your energy and resources and time with. After everything you have been through and after all the times people did not value what you offered, you have basically put up boundaries around your gifts. You are no longer freely giving to people who do not appreciate it. You are protecting what is yours and being strategic about where you invest yourself. And guess what? That is part of what is making people cry. They are realizing that they had access to you, they had your generosity or your attention or your care, and they took it for granted, and now that door is closed. The Four of Pentacles can sometimes represent a scarcity mindset, but in your case I am reading it as healthy self-protection. You learned the hard way that not everyone deserves access to you, and now you are acting accordingly. Some people are crying because they want back in, and they are discovering that you are not interested. You have closed that chapter. You have taken your resources, whether that is emotional energy or professional skills or creative gifts, and you have redirected them toward people and situations that actually value them. The Four of Pentacles is showing me that you have become the gatekeeper of your own life, and people who previously had easy access are now on the outside looking in and feeling the weight of that loss. There is something really empowering about this card in your spread because it shows that you are no longer operating from a place of people-pleasing or trying to prove yourself. You know your worth now. You know what you bring to the table, and you are only sitting at tables where that is recognized and celebrated. People crying about this are essentially crying about their own poor judgment and missed opportunities. The sixth card is the Nine of Swords and Aries. This card always makes me pause because it represents anxiety, worry, sleepless nights, mental anguish. When I see the Nine of Swords in a reading about people crying and realizing things about you, it is showing me that some of these people are literally losing sleep over what they did or did not do regarding you. The Nine of Swords depicts someone sitting up in bed in the middle of the night with their head in their hands surrounded by swords representing painful thoughts. This is what is happening to people who underestimated you or mistreated you or failed to recognize you. They are having these moments of deep regret, probably at like 3 in the morning when you cannot escape your own thoughts. They are replaying interactions with you and seeing them differently now. They are understanding mistakes they made and opportunities they wasted. What makes this card particularly poignant in your reading is that it shows the emotional toll their realization is taking on them, not you. You have moved on, you have grown, you are thriving. But they are stuck in this cycle of regret and worry, and what-ifs. The Nine of Swords represents that mental prison people create for themselves when they realize they messed up something important and cannot fix it. I want to be clear here that this is not about you needing to feel sorry for these people or take them back or make them feel better. The Nine of Swords is simply showing the reality of their emotional state. They are going through it because their own actions or inactions created consequences they are now facing. Some of them might be worrying about their reputation, some might be genuinely sad about losing you from their life, some might be anxious about the fact that you have moved on without them. The energy of the Nine of Swords can also represent people talking about you amongst themselves, sharing their regrets with each other, maybe even commiserating about how they all failed to see what was right in front of them. There is this collective anxiety happening where people are putting together pieces of the puzzle and realizing the full picture of who you are and what you are capable of, and it is keeping them up at night. The seventh card is the Eight of Pentacles, and honestly, Aries, this card makes me smile because it is such a beautiful confirmation of your energy and your journey regardless of what anyone else thinks or feels. The Eight of Pentacles shows a craftsperson completely absorbed in their work, dedicating themselves to mastery, refining their skills with focus and commitment. This is you. What this card is showing me is that while all this drama was happening around you, while people were underestimating you or overlooking you or failing to recognize your value, you just kept working, you kept improving. You kept dedicating yourself to your craft, whether that is a literal profession or your personal development or your spiritual growth or whatever area of life you were focused on. The Eight of Pentacles represents someone who is so committed to excellence that external validation becomes almost irrelevant. And here is why people are crying about this. They are realizing that you were not sitting around waiting for their approval or recognition. You were not slowing down because they were not cheering you on. You were just steadily, consistently, relentlessly improving yourself, and now the gap between where you are and where they thought you were is massive. They blinked and you leveled up 10 times while they were not paying attention. The Eight of Pentacles also represents reputation building through consistent quality work. Every single day you showed up and did excellent work, you were building something even if it was not visible to everyone around you. And now that structure you built is undeniable. People can see the body of work. They can see the level of skill. They can see the dedication. And it is overwhelming them because they realize they witnessed this journey but did not understand its significance until now. What I love about this card in your reading is that it centers you and your efforts rather than other people's opinions. The Eight of Pentacles does not care about applause. It cares about mastery. And you embodied that energy so fully that people's lack of recognition did not stop you. That is what is making some of them emotional now, because they see that their opinion of you was completely irrelevant to your success and growth. The eighth card is Judgment, and oh wow, Aries, this is big. Judgment is one of the major arcana cards that represents awakening, realization, reckoning, seeing things clearly for the first time or in a completely new way. When Judgment shows up in a reading about people crying and realizing something about you, it is like the universe is saying, yes, this is exactly what is happening. People are having a judgment moment about you. The Judgment card traditionally shows people rising from graves, hearing a trumpet call, experiencing a spiritual awakening or resurrection. In your reading, this represents people having this massive awakening about who you actually are. It is like they were asleep or blind to your truth, and now they are being jolted awake, and they cannot unsee what they are now seeing. This is not a subtle realization. This is a loud, clear, undeniable moment of truth. What gets me about Judgment in this position is that it suggests this awakening is almost divinely timed. Like the universe decided it was time for these people to see you clearly, and so it orchestrated situations or events or revelations that forced them to wake up. Maybe you achieved something they cannot ignore. Maybe someone else recognized you publicly. Maybe circumstances shifted in a way that highlighted your value. Whatever happened, it was significant enough to create this judgment moment. People are crying because judgment often comes with a sense of regret for time wasted or opportunities missed. When you finally see something clearly that was in front of you all along, there is this painful recognition of your own blindness. These people are judging themselves as much as they are finally seeing you accurately. They are understanding that their perception was flawed, and that flaw cost them something valuable, which was connection with you or collaboration with you or simply the experience of appreciating you while they had the chance. The Judgment card also has this energy of permanence to it. Once you have seen something clearly, you cannot go back to not knowing it. So these people cannot return to their old perception of you. If they are permanently changed by this realization, and they have to live with that new awareness and everything it means for how they treated you before versus how they understand you now. The ninth card I pulled is the Knight of Swords, and Aries, this card is coming in hot with a very specific message. The Knight of Swords is all about swift action, direct communication, charging forward with purpose and truth, cutting through obstacles with speed and precision. This knight does not mess around. When there is something that needs to be said or done, the Knight of Swords handles it immediately. In the context of your reading, this card is showing me that part of the reason people are having such strong emotional reactions to you is because you have recently taken swift action or spoken your truth in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. Maybe you set a boundary really clearly. Maybe you walked away from a situation without looking back. Maybe you called something out publicly or privately, but you did it with such clarity and conviction that people could not deny or dismiss it. The Knight of Swords can sometimes come across as harsh because this energy prioritizes truth over comfort. But what I am seeing in your reading is that your directness was necessary, and it created a breakthrough moment for people who were living in denial or avoidance. Your willingness to be the Knight of Swords, to charge in and speak truth even when it was uncomfortable, is what triggered these realizations in other people. There is also this element with the Knight of Swords about intellectual confidence. This knight knows they are right and they do not second-guess themselves. So part of what is making people emotional is that they are seeing your confidence and your certainty, and they are realizing they cannot argue with you or manipulate you or convince you that you are wrong. You have the truth on your side and you are wielding it like the Knight of Swords wields their sword, with skill and purpose and absolute conviction. Some people might be crying because your truth hurt them, not because you were cruel, but because truth sometimes hurts when it reveals something we did not want to face about ourselves. Other people might be crying because they are relieved that someone finally said what needed to be said and broke through all the pretense and confusion. Either way, the Knight of Swords energy you are carrying is creating strong reactions because it is undeniable and unstoppable. The 10th and final card in your reading is the Lovers and Aries. I actually gasped a little when this card came up because it adds such a beautiful and complex layer to everything we have been talking about. The Lovers is obviously associated with romantic relationships, but it also represents choices, values, alignment, and deep connections. In your reading about people crying and realizing something about you, The Lovers is showing me that some of these emotional reactions are specifically about people understanding what they lost in terms of connection with you. The Lovers card represents that rare and special bond where two people or a person and a situation are in perfect alignment. When this card shows up in a reading about regret and realization, it suggests that people are understanding they had the opportunity for something really special with you, whether that is romantic or platonic or professional, and they did not nurture it or value it appropriately, and now they are feeling the loss of that potential. What makes this particularly emotional is that the Lovers is not just about surface-level attraction or casual connection. This card represents soul-level alignment, shared values, mutual respect, genuine partnership. So, people who are crying about you right now are not just crying because they miss your presence. They are crying because they are recognizing that you represented something they actually deeply want and need in their life, and they fumbled it through their own actions or lack of action. The Lovers also represents choice, and in your reading, I am seeing this as you choosing yourself. You choosing your own path, you choosing to walk away from situations and people who were not aligned with your values. And people are crying because they are realizing they were not chosen, and they understand why, and that understanding is breaking their heart because they cannot argue with it. Your choice to prioritize alignment and authenticity over convenience or familiarity was the right choice, and they can see that now, even though it means they are not part of your journey anymore. There is also this beautiful element with the Lovers about you attracting what is truly meant for you. While some people are crying about losing you, the Lovers suggests that you are moving toward connections and opportunities that are genuinely aligned with who you are. You are not settling anymore. You are not accepting half-hearted energy. You are waiting for and calling in the Lovers level connection in all areas of your life. And that standard is part of what is making people realize what they lost, because they were not meeting that standard. So Aries, let me just wrap this up by saying the cards are absolutely confirming what you sensed or what you have been hearing about. People are having emotional reactions to you. They are realizing things about you that they missed before. And this is happening because you have been on this incredible journey of building your skills, standing in your power, speaking your truth, protecting your energy, and choosing alignment over convenience. All of that work you have been doing is now visible and undeniable, and people who did not see it before cannot unsee it now. The tears people are crying are about their own regret, their own missed opportunities, their own realization of what they had and did not value. This is not your burden to carry. You keep doing exactly what you have been doing, which is showing up authentically, working toward mastery, speaking truth, and choosing connections that truly align with your soul. The universe is making sure people see you clearly now, and that is creating ripples and reactions, but you just stay focused on your path because it is leading you exactly where you need to go. I hope this reading gave you some clarity and confirmation. If any of this resonated, drop a comment and let me know, because I love hearing how these messages land for you. Until next time, Aries, keep shining.